Here are 5 tips to have a beautiful back squat. I remember when I first started back squatting and there were so many moving parts that it seemed really intimidating to me when I first started. And I wanted to create a video to break this down in the easiest of steps. And what I say to my clients all the time is if you have a checklist and if you implement that checklist in the exact same order every time you squat, it becomes so natural over time. So this is my 5-step checklist that I use every time I squat, still to this day, over a decade later. And if you implement your own checklist every time you squat, you are going to feel so confident getting under that barbell. All right, let's start with bar placement. Tip number 1, where do you place the bar? So the first thing you're going to do is make sure that your hands are equal distance apart. Look at these lines. Make sure they're equal distance apart. The better your shoulder mobility is, the closer you want your hands to be together. The more you struggle with shoulder mobility, the farther apart your hands are going to be. There are no wrong answers here, but put your hands as close as you comfortably can, depending on your own shoulder mobility. Closer means you're going to be able to get tighter, and that's important. So choose your spot as close as you can comfortably be for your shoulders. Even if that's out here, that's okay. Then we're going to get underneath the bar, and we're going to place the bar on what we call our shelf. Our shelf is this area right here where the bar is sitting right now. That is directly above the shoulder blades. So if we have it too high, it can feel like it's putting pressure on your spine and on your neck. It is not comfortable. If we have it too low, this is a way that some people squat. This is called a low bar squat, and that's acceptable. A lot of people find it difficult to master it at first because it can feel like it can slip. So what you want to do as a beginner is set the bar right here. So it's on this little shelf right above your shoulder blades. You notice if I push up, it's actually creating this like shelf effect where the bar is sitting into the muscles right above my shoulder blade. So that was tip number 1, create your shelf. Tip number 2 is all about your feet. Have you ever heard of the tripod foot? Now, we all know that the triangle is your strongest geometric shape. We're going back to high school here. Your triangle is your strongest geometric shape. Let's use that. So on your foot, you're going to think you have a triangle from your heel to just below your pinky toe, just below your big toe, back to the heel. That is your tripod foot. If we have equal weight distribution in all of these spots at all times, you are so much more stable. Think about how tiny this is as a foundation for the entirety of this plus weight. Do not make your foundation any smaller than it needs to be. Maximize your foundation and it is going to feel so much better. Now, the easiest way to do this is to think about it on the way down in your squat. So, step 1, find your shelf. Take your step back. Think tripod foot. So even just standing here before we start to squat, you're going to imagine that triangle on your feet. Visualize it. Maybe it's lighting up. Maybe it's a certain color. Whatever works in your brain to visualize that triangle on your foot. Imagine you're pressing into that triangle the whole way down and then push out of that triangle. Imagine the triangle, push into it the whole way down, push out of that triangle. So that was tip 2, visualize your tripod foot. And the more you think about it on the down and then just push up from the bottom out of it, the easier it is. Don't try to think about it while you're already down. Think about it on the way down. Now, number 3, brace and breathing. I highly recommend watching my significantly more detailed video specifically on bracing. It'll add a lot of context to this. However, from a simple standpoint, what you're going to do is when you're in your top position, you're going to brace your core right here. Take a big breath in, brace your core. Hold your breath on the way down and then breathe out on the way up. Every single rep, repeat that. Brace with a big breath in, hold your breath on the way down, breathe out on the way up. When you get into this rhythm, it is going to make your lifting significantly more stable. The easiest way to picture this is with an analogy. Would you rather climb a rope ladder or a steel ladder? Which one would be easier? A steel ladder is easier to climb than a rope ladder because of tensegrity. That is what bracing and breathing does for us in our squat. It makes us a steel ladder. So your step number 3 is be a steel ladder. Work on that brace with that breathing rhythm. Number 4, range of motion. Depth is important. We don't quarter squat around here. We only do full squats. So what is a full squat? A full squat is minimum hip crease to the knee in depth and back up. So if we're above hip crease to the knee, say here, that is technically not a full depth squat. We want minimum hip crease to the knee. Now the reason for this is you're just going to get so much more out of it. You get way more strength and muscle activation with greater range of motion. When you go half reps with a lot of weight or full range of motion reps with lighter weight, you actually get way more muscle growth and more strength out of the full range of motion with the lighter weight. Now, an issue with this is not everybody has the ankle mobility for this. If you're somebody who gets to here and you're kind of like, oh, I feel really unstable, my torso starts to go forward, what that means is you probably lack the ankle mobility to get to full depth. It's all about those ankles. So what are you going to do? Well, if you want to invest in squat shoes, there are specific squat shoes with a lifted heel that fix this problem. However, not all of us wants to buy fancy, expensive shoes. And in that case, all you have to do is use 2 small plates. These are little 5-pound plates. You are going to put them exactly on the floor in the distance where your feet are going to be. And then you are going to put your heels on them. As soon as our heels are elevated on these plates, we actually need significantly less ankle mobility. It takes the ankle mobility out of it. It makes it way easier to get lower, even all the way down, ass to grass, touching your hips, down towards your heels. If you have that kind of mobility, it is so much easier to squat low with an elevated heel. So if that's something you struggle with, there's your answer. Tip number 5 is simply finishing it off strong. I want you to think about pushing the floor down. The easiest way to come up out of a squat in fantastic form without anything in your body changing is thinking about pushing the floor down. You're trying to dent the floor, you're trying to push it away, whatever cue works in your brain. Crown of the head is tall, stretching to the ceiling, and you're pushing the floor away. So that's it. We can put it all together with the strong brace and the breathing, the depth, the foot, pushing the floor away. We got the barbell sitting in the right spot on your back. Your squats are about to look so good.